Okay, so show of hands. Who's never heard of community-based social marketing? Don't lie. Okay, good. Who has heard of it? Who's doing it? Who's doing it really well? Okay, good. You can come up and give the presentation. There you go. I like these people that are doing it very well. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I've been asked to talk about, basically introduce the concept of community-based social marketing if you haven't heard of it. It's not Facebook. It's not Twitter. That's social media. That's the other thing. And then talk about how CBSM can be useful for local efforts. And a little bit about a current project that I'm working on with National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and a bunch of other partners. So a little bit of background about how I got into this. I am in the Biological Systems Engineering Department at Virginia Tech, but I'm a social scientist. So I'm a social scientist who lives among engineers. So I think a lot about translating and how to make people who don't understand design concepts or reasons for doing things, how to get them closer to where they need to be. So starting in 2009, a large group of us from Virginia Tech, University of Maryland, Center for Environmental Science, and CRC worked together basically to develop some usable metrics for watershed organizations to evaluate their progress and to get where they're heading. You know, after they write a grant proposal, actually make it happen and measure how that happens. My part of it was social metrics. It was kind of a torturous path to get to community-based social marketing, but that's where I ended up. Basically that understanding changes in knowledge and attitudes are important, but that doesn't get us to behavior. So really what we need to do is understand what it takes to change people's behavior and how to measure that. So what we're talking about today is that ultimately all the best intentions in the world won't get us there, the best design practices won't get us there, even the best incentive programs won't get us there unless we figure out what will make people do things differently, right? And it's really tricky when we're talking about private property because, as I believe it was Joe said, it's just like guns. It's like, don't take away my fertilizer, right? And when we think about what we're up against, when you watch HGTV for about 2 hours in the spring, how many Scott's fertilizer commercials do you see? 20 or so. It's amazing. They're really good at marketing. They know that people will buy what they're selling, and they're doing exactly what they set out to do. Nothing against Scott's, it's just an example. So common approaches that are taken to encourage behavior change, a lot of times people focus on trying to change people's knowledge or attitudes about a situation. You've got to save the bay. This will get us there. And the other approach that people take is kind of the economic self-interest approach. Don't use fertilizer because it's expensive. Conserve water because you'll save money. These are relatively common and they're easy, and that's why we do it. We think if we put, we're well-meaning people, we're all sitting here in this room, we came to Williamsburg, if we tell them this, they'll change their behavior, right? And unfortunately, it's just not that simple. A lot of times messages are targeted towards the general public. We try to reach everyone because we want the biggest impact possible, right? So we try to reach everyone with everything. But then we have this human element that people don't always act rationally and they don't always act on information given to them. And this is really sad to say, but research does not show a strong connection between people's intentions and attitudes and their behavior. Okay, we say one thing, we mean well, we do another, okay? So when it comes to measuring impact, when we have a project that we're working on, we want to say how we're doing. The easiest thing to report is how many people we reached, right? And this is very common. We handed out 10,000 brochures. We had 50 people come to our training. The thing that we're trying to get at is the so what of all of that, okay? So 50 people came to the training, they said, wow, that was nice, I made some new friends. Okay, but they didn't do anything different because of it. So we're trying to get at what changes people's behavior as a result of impact. So CBSM defined it's the use of marketing principles and techniques to influence a target audience to voluntarily accept, reject, modify, or abandon a behavior for the benefit of either the target audience or society as a whole. So the important components of that are the target audience, specific behavior, a specific process to make this happen, and ultimately measurable and sustained behavior change. Okay? Basically, there are 3 reasons that an audience won't adopt a behavior. They don't know about it, they do know about it, but they perceive significant barriers to doing so. They do know about it, they do not perceive significant barriers, but they do perceive significant benefits to keep doing what they're doing, which a lot of times is nothing, right? Or what they've always done, something easy. 3 key ideas. People gravitate toward a behavior with the most benefits and the fewest barriers. Barriers and benefits may be real or perceived and may vary significantly. And desired behaviors compete with other behaviors. This is really important. So it's always an exchange, it's a trade. It's not just adopting something new, it's changing something that they're already doing. So understanding a target audience and what motivates them is key. The process is basically that you focus on selecting a behavior and an audience. And the hardest part of this is the formative research, which is basically the homework that you have to do to find out if other similar efforts have been taken on in the past, what those people learned, and then adding local context to that, okay? What's different about your audience. Then focusing on barriers and benefits to getting people where you want them to be. Developing a strategy, pilot, and adjust if necessary, and implement the program. See, it's a piece of cake. Who wouldn't want to do this, right? So ultimately, we're trying to, reduce barriers to the desired practice and increase benefits, and we're doing the opposite with the competing behaviors. All right, so I'm just going to go through a couple of the tools that are used in this process. Prompts is one. Everybody's seen these, reminding you to pick up waste from your dog or whatever it happens to be. These are used close to where the behavior takes place. They're just used to serve as a reminder, not to actually motivate people to do something new. Norms, we've seen a lot of beautiful pictures of practices. It's getting people to think about moving from what they think is normal now, a connected downspout to a rain barrel, nice turf that's obviously fertilized to a rain garden. Getting people to think about what we want them to do as what's normal. Back in the early 80s, for example, no one was recycling, right? And now everyone recycles. So making this part of the conversation that this becomes the new normal to do conservation landscaping to implement these practices. Commitment is another tool. There are about 7 tools that are recommended. I'm just going over a few for time. Getting people to buy into a small commitment, signing a petition, using a beautiful Plant ES Natives decal in their window, becoming a River Star home by saying that you do the 7 things that kind of gets you on the process of becoming more of a partner. So in terms of what I'm working on now, I'm developing from the project that started in 2009, I'm working on developing an online guidance tool that will guide folks through this process. And basically what it takes is a lot of conversation and feedback. I'm working on documenting case studies that are currently going on, lessons learned, and tools that have been used in the past. So focus group questions, surveys, interviews that can be kind of repackaged and used in other watersheds or in other areas. And a big part of this is just documenting success, documenting lessons learned. These are the pilot projects that I'm working with this year. Thomas Jefferson Soil and Water Conservation District near Charlottesville, working with Riverwise, it's very exciting. And then the Middle River and Tidal Gunpowder Preservation Project. And these have a wide range of where they are in this process. Some have already done some social marketing, some haven't done it at all. And so I'm looking forward to working with these guys to get feedback and document what they're doing over the next year. Those are all NFWF funded projects. So basically, in closing, initiatives to promote behavior change are often most effective when they are carried out at the community level. We have the most impact when we have one-on-one meaningful conversations with people. It's really important. We need to utilize lessons learned from similar initiatives, but then build in local context wherever we can, and build in what's specific or what's important about a neighborhood or a watershed where we're working. Always think about targeting the audience, and it seems limiting, but if we have more success in getting behaviors adopted, we're actually doing more. Rather than reaching 9,000 people with a general message, we reach 15 households and something real takes place. Most of the social marketing process that I'm talking about today comes from Doug Mackenzie Mohr, who Skip mentioned at the beginning. His entire book is online for free. It's very accessible. I recommend it. This is the website here, CBSM.com. And there's lots of examples of these programs happening here. There are representatives of groups that are doing this now. So I highly recommend you talk with them because they're the experts. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions.